So staying in that same area of humanitarian aid and reaching out to the citizens of this country, a development objective of the National Social Safety Net project for Nigeria is to provide access to targeted transfers to poor and vulnerable households under an expanded national social safety net system. It comprises two components. The first component, establishing the foundation for national social safety net system to strengthen and consolidate the building blocks of a safety net system at the national and state level that can deliver targeted support to poor households, including two subcomponents: project management. Plenty of conversation there, but I'm not going to, should I say bore you? No, not boy. I can't.
We never bore them.
No, I won't go into the details of it, but we'll have someone, the national coordinator of National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office, who would help us understand exactly what this project is about. Akpera Iorwa joins us from our Abuja studios. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Edward.
Okay, so just break it down for us. This National Social Safety Net project, can you break it down? What is it about? We just finished talking about humanitarian assistance in Nigeria's northeast and spread across the country. But help us understand what this is about more.
Okay, thank you very much, Ekwe, and thank you for having me this morning. My name is Iorwa Apera. I'm the National Coordinator for the National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office, established by the federal government in 2016 under the Office of the Vice President, with oversight from the Special Advisor to the President on Social Investment, Haja Mariam Uwais. The National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office, NASCO, is established to do a number of things for this country. One is to establish the building blocks for establishing social safety nets programs that target the poor and vulnerable. From building a social register, what we call a national social register. And I will explain a little bit what the National Social Register is. The National Social Register, it's an information gateway of potential eligible poor and vulnerable beneficiaries to targeted programs. So it's a database comprising of individuals and households who have been identified by their communities as being poor and are registered onto that platform. Interventions then will mine people from the social register to do their various programs. So when you talked about the Northeast crisis and other social intervention programs, they have access, most of them, to the social register to identify those who they would target to benefit from this program.
Can you just please explain, how do you determine those who are poor and vulnerable enough to fit into this program? You say the communities will pick them.
Of course, yeah. So thank you. We use a combination of three targeting mechanisms. One is the geographical mapping, where we meet with the state officials and we agree on the poverty map. Now, the poverty map is designed or developed by the Bureau of Statistics, National Bureau of Statistics, but also the State Bureau of Statistics. They have their own poverty mapping. So the two of us sit to agree that indeed for this state, here is the poverty status or poverty ranking of the state from the poor to the poorest, LGA. Now, this poverty ranking, it's across the country. Every state in Nigeria, it's ranked by the poverty rate or status of each LGA.
Okay.
Now,
Barra, can you just hold your thoughts? Mr. Barra, I beg your pardon. Just hold your thoughts. Let's just go on this quick break. We'll come back. You continue to talk about what NASCO does. We'll be back shortly. Don't go. Welcome back. We still have Mr. Iorwa Apera, who's the coordinator of the National Social Safety Net Office in Abuja. So, Mr. Apera, you were talking about how the names are collated into a register. You called it a social register. When did this register begin, as in the creation of this register? When did it start? And how long, is it something that has been institutionalized so that it's not tied to any particular government?
Yes, of course, it is institutionalized. It is not tied to any government. It's not an initiative of any particular government, but it did start with this administration. The planning started a while ago, before this administration came in power, but it was made alive by this administration. It is established to develop the social register even beyond the administration.
Okay, when you say it's been institutionalized, so there's a legal framework backing this office, so nobody will go and say that there's an illegality being played out in any way.
At the moment, it starts as the a part of the social protection policy approved by the government. We're working towards the law that we then establish its existence, routed to our laws of the country. That still works in progress, but it now starts as a program of the federal government, funded by a World Bank credit that runs for 5 years, between now until 2020.
Okay, when you said the planning started some time back, what would you say, how far would you say you've gone with meeting the objectives of this program?
I think we've gone a long way. First, we have established memorandum of understanding with all the 36 states of the Federation and Abuja. We have so far started building the register in 34 states and Abuja. The other 2 states they just came on, and we are working to start our activities in full force in those 2 states. The register has been established in those 34 states. We have up to 578,000 poor and vulnerable households in that register, made up of 2.2 million individuals in that register.
You said this thing is started by the federal government, but there are those who are concerned that being a social safety network program, it should have started from the local government so that it's getting down to the to the nooks and crannies of this nation. But now it's an office set up in Abuja. How is it being worked out? And you say you're working with the state government. Would it really be that effective?
Yes. So in actual sense, the activities itself are based in the communities. Now, we at the federal level were established to coordinate the activities as any federal entity would do and set standards, guidance, policies to guide the development of the social register and the management and coordination of all other social safety nets program in Nigeria. Now, as soon as that office was established, we went about discussing with the states and signing memorandum of understanding, which established the state offices. So in each state of the federation, we have the state coordinating offices of building the social register and coordinating social safety nets. Now, in each local government, we have a local government desk office. Now, this local government desk office officers raise what we call the community targeting teams, who then go into the communities, working with the community structures to establish the social register. Now, like I started explaining earlier, we use a combination of 3 targeting mechanisms. One is a geographical mapping where we identify the poorest local governments in the state. And this is done to enable us select the initial local governments that will start activities in. The plan is we start activities with the first 30% of the poorest local governments, and then we go to 50, then 70, and 100. This is deliberate so that we are able to not only be systematic, but ensure that everybody is captured, guaranteeing the integrity of this register. Now, once the local governments are selected and the teams who are civil servants, who are local government staff, are trained, they go into the communities and engage with the communities. The community structures are engaged in what we call a community targeting system. Now, when they sensitize the community, they pull the community members into 3 focal group discussion. One group is the youth, the other is women, and the other male adults. Now, each group is asked to define what, in their terms, they consider poverty. And through that, select members of the community that they understand or think or know that they are poor and vulnerable and should be on this list. Now, when all these 3 groups select this independently, separately, we bring them all into plenary and we harmonize the list. Now, when we do this, sometimes there are a couple of families that are in one group and they are not in another group. And there's an open discussion and the community jointly agree that indeed this family is supposed to be on this list or that family is not supposed to be on that list.
If I may come in here.
Once this is done,
Mr. Apera,
we list the number of households that the community has been identified.
Mr. Apera,
we then sign.
You said something about the families hold on, Mr. Apera. You said something about the families being in one group and maybe not being in another group. Then there is an open conversation. Do you have the entire community gathered for that open conversation? Yes. So all the groups, so you have, in the community, you have the groups for the youth. So all the youths in the community are put together in a focus group discussion.